This was really interesting. So Theo Vaughn is a comedian. He's a Southern comedian. He's got that Southern recognizable accent. And he has a podcast, and he had Bernie Sanders on his podcast. And I'm not going to say shocked, but I was a bit surprised to see the dynamic because um, I always thought that Theo Vaughn was more of a conservative guy, and Bernie Sanders is obviously on the left and nominally on the far left, as people like to label him, even though he's in favor of reasonable issues. But he had this conversation with Theo Vaughn, and they talked a lot about healthcare. It seems to be something that Theo Vaughn has had experience with, that he's passionate about. And the way they just so sort of simply lay it out and articulate it actually kind of bummed me out when I was watching this the first time. But let's just watch this brief interaction. Theo Vaughn explains it, and then Bernie reacts, and I'll tell you my thoughts. So here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're a proponent for healthcare for all, right?
I absolutely am.
Yes, and you always have been. And but how the system seems so rigged because you have
when he said that system, he means like our current system, I believe. Well, yes.
You have like one of the number one causes of bankruptcy in America is medical debt, right?
Yes.
Unbelievable. Like people can't, people, they go in, they don't even know the cost. They sign an agreement that they're going to be billed later, right? It's like, and then they get the bill and it's astronomical, and they spend the rest of their life literally a slave to the healthcare system.
So and I hate to cut it off making such a good point, but just to inject my own anecdote. I mean, this is literally, I'm 28 years old. But when I was 20 years old, I had appendicitis. I had to have my appendix removed, and I went to this hospital, and I had to wait. Still, I was in excruciating pain, and they had me waiting like 12 hours before I was eventually seen or taken care of. But in the midst of it, I was visited by, of course, doctors and nurses, but I was visited by this, creepy insurance guy in a suit with a little clipboard. And he had me sign off on a bunch of stuff that I had no idea what I was signing, but I had to sign it if I wanted to get treated. And of course, I had insurance at the time. I had pretty good insurance. It was my parents' insurance. And, come to find out, I have the surgery, I have my appendix removed. The surgery itself cost, I think it was $40,000. Now, of course, insurance paid for most of it, but I was still left with $5,000 or $6,000 bill. And you can think about that 20-year-old kid. I've already got school debts, and now they're trying to hit me with a $5,000 medical bill. And so, what's the point of insurance if the hospital, the provider, the doctor is going to charge this astronomical number anyway? It doesn't matter if insurance covers 75% of $100,000, $25,000 is still, it's as much as some people make in a year. It's as much as some people make in their entire lifetime, if you look at the entire scope of the world. So it's really completely rigged and bullshit scam. So anyway,
their life, literally a slave to the healthcare system or to the medical billing system or the dealing with their insurance, and not to mention they're sick. So the added stress of that, it just feels like, like something so much better could be done.
That is so pathetic and so sick and so cruel. I mean, we did a hearing on this, and roughly speaking, and I know the viewers will think this is like hard to believe. Half of the people who are dealing with cancer. Now, cancer is a terrible disease, right? Your point.
100%.
You're struggling for your life, right?
Bad, yeah,
maybe
bad.
you make it, maybe you don't. You got radiation, chemotherapy, bad stuff, right? Half the people who get cancer treatment either end up in bankruptcy or utilizing all of the financial resources of the family. They're depleted. They're broke. So imagine that. You go into the hospital, doctor says, Theo, sorry, you got cancer, terrible. You're worried to death, right? Your friends, your family are worried. And then on top of that, what are you worried about? Oh my God, what, am I gonna have to sell my house? Am I have to go bankrupt in order to pay medical bills? That is insane.
Yeah.
And it adds, if you're trying to deal with cancer, then you gotta worry about financial stress. Think it's gonna make your condition any better?
No, the worst. You spend half your day, you can't even, in the insurance companies, it's all a rigmarole. It's constant stress. But how is it set up like that? Like, what is the gimmick between insurers and the hospital? That's the thing I don't know. What's going on?
All right, take it a step. Let's take a step further.
And think about the plot of Breaking Bad is exactly that. Famously, a guy gets cancer. He's a school teacher. He's not rich. He's not wealthy. Needs to sell meth in order to make up the hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for the cancer treatment, and so that his family doesn't isn't left with absolutely nothing. This is the United States of America, right? We're the only country that doesn't have that has a system like this. Only wealthy nation. Um, and they point out all of these details, and they make it very clear in a simple way that it's a scam system. We have these bullshit insurance companies with all this bureaucracy. They're charging us, way more than any other country. They're adding all this bureaucracy, all these forms, making it so complicated so you don't even want to deal with it. You don't even want to spend the hours and hours on the phone arguing and dealing with this bullshit. So you just give up. And it's disheartening, and you're sick anyway. And think about it, they're giving the extreme example of cancer, but anything can happen. There's an infinite number of things that can go wrong with the human body, and health is a very delicate thing. And to make people balance that with their money or their checkbook, and have to have that as a stressor is just it's complete bullshit. And the fact that this is an extreme position, that it's like Bernie's so radical because he wants to do this, it's normal. It's radical that we have a system that kills us, that prevents people from going and getting help, that makes people bankrupt for just trying to get healthy again. Not to mention exorbitant prescription drug prices that we pay more for no reason. The prices are arbitrary. It's bullshit. And the system is broken. So that's when people are frustrated about a broken system, these are the things that they're frustrated about. Talk about inflation, talk about prices being too high, talk about things being unaffordable. This is part of the problem. And Bernie would love to fix it if only, the Republicans and certain Democrats would just get out of his way, or would come to the reasonable position of changing this system and making it better for people just in general. So that's pretty much that. I love the conversation. They get into a few other details about this, and it's just really nice to see, people from two different walks of life that you wouldn't really expect to come together and just in total agreement. And I think that's really the point, is that it's just a people issue, right? Rural people from the South, people from the North, the West, everyone in this country is in the same boat, right? We're all in this together. And it would just be great to figure it out, and to finally have like a fair system, right, where things just make sense. But instead we have this corrupt, rigmarole that screws people, and I'd love to see it fixed. So that's my thoughts on that. Theo Von, Bernie Sanders on the this past weekend, I think the podcast is called, with Theo Von. So I enjoyed it. Go check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.